Tisha Bader with Shalom TV's News Update. The Jerusalem Post reports that opposition leader Tzipi Livni's headquarters in Beersheba were vandalized last night. The incident included damage to phone lines as well as a picture of Livni, which hung outside the building, being defaced with an X drawn across it. While Beersheba police investigate, Livni responded by saying that she takes the crime seriously and hopes that there are no links found between it and any political opponents. France's Education Minister Luc Chatel has called for disciplinary actions to be taken against a teacher in a town north of Paris who called on her students to observe a moment of silence for Mohamed Merah, the shooter in the Toulouse attack. The students let the principal know about the incident, saying that the teacher referred to Merah as a, quote, victim. Chatel is asking that the teacher, who has not been identified, be suspended. The JTA reports that Bill Flynn, Assistant Undersecretary at the Department of Homeland Security, spoke to over 120 Jewish leaders in a phone call this week in light of the recent deadly attack in Toulouse. The phone call was organized by the Jewish Federations of North America, its Homeland Security Initiative, the Security Communication Network, and the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations. Paul Goldenberg, who leads the Security Communication Network, said that security procedures were reviewed during the call and that, quote, the most important element here is that Jewish communities are very much remaining open for business. We will do so in a much more vigilant manner. Goldenberg added that since the shooting in Toulouse, the requests for training sessions from his organization have increased. As the Jewish community as a whole is still reeling from the tragic shooting attack in Toulouse, Shalom TV's Mark Golub sat down this week with Executive Vice Chairman of the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations, Malcolm Hoenlein, and Deputy National Director of the Anti-Defamation League, Ken Jacobson, to get their perspective on these horrific events in regards to Jewish life in Europe and in the U.S. Both agreed that Americans sometimes have a false sense of security and have to be more aware of possible threats here in the U.S.
The truth is, when you're in Europe, people understand the issue of Jewish security. In America, there's a willingness to hide one's eyes from it because everybody wants to believe, with good reason, by the way. I'm not suggesting life for American Jews is far better than any other Jewish community in the history of the diaspora. We live in a different kind of world. But having said that, there are things that can be done that don't undermine that sense, and as a matter of fact will enhance the sense of the security of living in America by doing really basic stuff such as Malcolm pointed out, just having security guards, just having education. So we don't have to undermine that sense of comfortableness that is unique to American Jews to still protect the children and the families in the synagogues and other Jewish institutions.
They also both, in light of the targeted attacks on Jews that occur across the globe, were positive about what it means to be a Jew in America today.
This is the most privileged generation in modern Jewish history. We have a Jewish state, we have a Jewish army, we have a Jewish Air Force. We live in a country, in the United States, that gives us the right to have free expression, that Jews are active participants in every sector of society. We contribute to America. We can live freely. We can express our religious beliefs freely. We have great diversity in our community. I think if you give a message to young people, the message is not just the tsars. We have to be aware of the threats. But the message is that we can do something about it. For hundreds and hundreds of years, Jews couldn't affect their destiny. They lived at the whim of others. Today, Jews live in a time when we can have a say over our own destiny.
The entire interview on Shalom TV will be available in the near future. American Jewish scientist and astronomer Stuart Noetz was sentenced by a U.S. district judge earlier this week to 13 years in prison for charges of fraud, tax evasion, and one charge of attempted espionage. Noetz, a resident of Chevy Chase, Maryland, had in 2009 agreed to sell U.S. classified information to a man he thought was an Israeli Mossad operative, but was in fact an undercover FBI agent. Noetz, who had worked for the U.S. Department of Energy, the U.S. Department of Defense, and NASA, has said he has taken full responsibility for his actions and expressed his apologies to family and friends for his, quote, fatal lack of judgment. The JTA reports the Anti-Defamation League is looking into a Connecticut condominium association for not allowing items to be displayed on doorposts, but only on door fronts, like a mezuzah. Barbara Cadronell, a condo owner, was fined for her mezuzah being affixed to her doorpost, and told by the California Condo Association in Stratford, Connecticut, that she would be fined $50 a day if she kept it there. A religious rights law office involved in the case says it will take legal action if the fines continue. The ADL's Connecticut office referred to the fact that Christian items like crucifixes and wreaths are allowed to be displayed since they are on door fronts, and that, quote, the operative effect of a policy banning mezuzahs from a condominium complex may be to prevent Jews from living there. A lawyer for the association has rejected any allegations of discrimination and says the regulation in place, quote, prohibits the displaying of any item of whatever nature upon the exterior wall of any unit, though door fronts are specifically exempt. Similar cases in the past have ultimately allowed for the display of mezuzot, and some states have actually changed their laws to assure that. And finally, pop star Madonna, who begins her world tour in Israel in May, has added a second concert date in Tel Aviv for a, quote, concert for peace, to which she plans to invite several organizations that are working towards peace in the region. In a statement, the singer said, quote, music is so universal, and if there's any chance that through my performance I can bring further attention and enlightenment to honor the peace efforts in the Middle East and help people come together, it would be an honor for me. And that's Shalom TV's news update. I'm Tisha Bader.